Digital Dissection, a nerd podcast, can at times contain adult language and themes. It is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Digital Dissection podcast, where we take a closer and possibly unnecessary look at our favorite properties, creators, and topics. We are your humble hosts, Joe and Mark, two pop culture nerds dedicated to telling entertainment history before it's forgotten too soon. Join us on Facebook, Twitter, and our blog for more information on the show. We also love to hear from you, so why not write us at digitaldissectionpodcast@gmail.com. And now that we've got that out of the way, let's get to dissecting.
Hello, fellow pop culture nerds, and welcome back to Digital Dissection, where we take a closer and possibly unnecessary look at our favorite properties, creators, and topics. Today's guest has an incredibly diverse background in journalism, acting, and dance. She starred in Total Recall, Lethal Weapon, and of course, she's Ensign and later Commander Sonia Gomez in Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Trek Lower Decks. She's the founder of Drive-By Do-Gooders, helping to bring necessary items to those in need within Los Angeles Skid Row. We welcome Lycia Naff.
Yay! Thank you for the one person who applauded.
We'll add the clapping. We'll add some cheering in post. Joe's got some really good stuff for that. Well, we appreciate you joining us. As we've kind of mentioned to you before, we're definitely pop culture nerds here at the show. And tonight we're joined by, of course, my co-host Joe Venipal and my older brother Nate Benke. How we doing, guys?
Good to be here.
Yeah, it's survived a small squall that went through middle Wisconsin, but the house is still standing, so everything's great.
Yeah, Lycia, by the way, if we ever get too Midwestern on you tonight, like if we use too many opes or stretch out too many O's or things like that, you got to let us know because we don't even realize it anymore.
No,
we have no idea.
If we ask if it's okay to just sneak right around you there, just tell us no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay if we scooch past your mic there. I'm sorry. If it ever gets that way, just let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll perk right up. But either way, you know what we like to do on this show is to provide a little bit of an origin story to our guests that join us. And one of the things that stuck out to me, because my family lived out in SoCal for a couple of years. We were on a military base. If you've heard of Barstow, California,
Yes.
if the earth ever needed an enema, they would insert it into Barstow, California. We lived there for a little bit. But you're from Las Vegas originally, correct?
Yeah, born and raised.
Now, this was before, obviously we had been there. But what was Las Vegas like when you were growing up as a kid?
Well, my dad was in the hotel business. He was a PR director and advertising executive for various hotels. So, I mean, we grew up, running around the casinos and seeing the Rat Pack and Barbra Streisand and Cher and Tom Jones. And my dad did the entire PR campaign for Elvis, the Fat Elvis, through the 70s. So that's probably where I got a little bit of the acting bug because, summer camp was literally my mom would just drop us off at the Hilton or somewhere or the Flamingo or the Aladdin or wherever my dad was working. And, there was no security in those days. We're talking about the 70s. And we'd, make our way into the showroom and get behind the curtain and just feel the awe, of maybe the curtain rising and seeing the showroom. And it was, Vegas is all glitzy and it's been supersized. But when I grew up, the strip was a little bit more, it was simpler. And most of it was just a desert town, it was small. And so I kind of grew up in the desert, which was quiet and boring as all get out, until I was a teenager. And my parents were both working like full time. So my little brother and I were latchkey kids. So we both got cars at 14 and a half. I got a stick shift. It was what was it called? It was a Green Hornet.
Ooh.
That
Nice.
told me the day before I went to school how to drive a stick, and that next morning I drove myself across town to Bishop Gorman High School my freshman year, or was I already a sophomore? I don't remember. No, I think it was my freshman year, and it was terrifying, but I got really good at driving, and luckily I live in LA. So
Yeah.
I ride motorcycles now, and I've never been in an accident. I can, drive drunk. No, I'm just kidding. I can.
They're from Wisconsin up there. It's okay.
Yeah,
It's par for the
Yep.
course.
we drive better when it's just a .09, not too much.
It's too easy when you're sober, right? You got to spice life up a little bit, right?
Yeah. You clench, so you need to kind of just lubricate just enough to have road rage, but not let it, not take the road rage home. So that's
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got the locked glove compartment, so you've got the little flask in there. I don't know. I'm just totally.
Well, that's actually kind of
Mhm.
funny that you mentioned that because in your work with Trauma Films, I remember watching one of the gals in that the Biker Girls movie. She was taking a flask out of her jacket while riding the motorcycle, which I hope was just water, but
Yeah,
know.
all the girls were actually in. God, it breaks their anonymity, but none of them drank. None of them, including me at the
Oh.
time. So yeah, it was a kind of a sober set. We all learned in Chopper Chicks and Zombie Town how to ride motorcycles for the first time. I was the very first one to get cast. And that made complete sense to me because I'd always wanted to learn how to ride a motorcycle.
Mhm.
And, we were paid SAG minimum. And it was a grueling 6-day-a-week shoot in Ridgecrest, California, kind of Barstow's sister city.
Earthquake town. Yeah.
Is it really Ridgecrest?
Is it? I remember. Was it Ridgecrest or?
Could be. I mean, could be. It felt like we lived on a fault in
Yeah.
a city motel. But I turned around and gave my entire salary back to the production company to buy back the motorcycle I rode. I was the only
Ooh.
one out of all of them who kept riding, and I still ride to this day. I wanted to ride last weekend.
Fantastic. What kind of bike was it?
It was a Harley Sportster at the time, but as the
Ah.
more you ride, the more you graduate to bigger bikes, and
Mhm.
it was all the rage in the mid 80s and mid 90s to be, on two wheels in Los Angeles, with the fringe and the whole,
Mhm.
the leather, and it was very showy. I was really never a showy person. I didn't really ride with groups or anything.
Mhm.
But I still ride, and I'm that old. That's a decent amount of upper body strength. I've got what is it now? It's so modified. I forget what it actually with the frame. It started out as a 2001 Fat Boy, which kind of looks
Ooh.
like
Mhm.
a government issued, army bike. It has floorboards but I've
Mhm.
completely changed it, and it has no chrome on it whatsoever. I spent hours and hours and then hired somebody because it was too much physical
Oh,
labor.
yeah. Mhm.
Take off all of the chrome, so it's all just bare metal. And then I had like I think it was jet engine sealer on it, so it wouldn't rust.
Ooh.
And it rusted completely. So now it looks
Oh, no.
it's got all these rust patches, and I've got really
Mhm.
large beach bar handlebars, and it's got a lot of engine work, so it's really fast. But it's a huge clunker. I look like a small child on it. It's like 650-pound bike.
Mhm.
So it's a pretty heavy bike.
Yeah, the fat boy for the main namesake, right? It's gotta be a big boulevarder. So yeah, it's a big
It
boy.
is. Big fat
Mhm.
tank and big fat tires, and it's got a lot of weight to it. Yeah, and it's heavy to turn. It's not in love with turning. You just have to throw all of your weight over it. And if you
Mhm.
turn too much, it'll hit the pipes, and it pops you back up, and that's always really fun.
It'll wake you up.
Yeah, I'm due for a downgrade. I'm due for something slimmer and
Mhm.
lighter. And it has has no fairing because I bought a fairing, a really good one, but you don't feel the wind, right?
Yeah.
And that's not good for me because I wouldn't
Yeah.
realize how fast I was going, especially on Mulholland and on the turns. And I lost my sense of safety in a weird way. Had this, I felt like I was in a car. So I got rid of the fairing so that I would be, cognizant of my own speed so that I just wouldn't go into a turn too fast because it got too comfortable, you know.
You look pretty comfortable in Chopper Chicks, especially in the credits, because you're kind of swaying as you're driving in the beginning.
We're all new, but I was the last one to figure out how to ride, but I ended up being the best one, and I ended up, being the lifelong biker. They start you off with motorcycle school. You go to the Hollywood Bowl parking lot, and the first thing you do on little Honda 250s, I think it were, tiny little bikes, you learn to walk across the parking lot. Then you learn how to just do first gear. And I didn't understand. There was the concept, I wasn't locking something in, because if you move your handlebars slightly, you can go over. And I had no upper body strength. I was always going over. I was under my bike more than I was on the bike. And, the producers are all watching us and everyone else is kind of passing all the tests. And I'm like, hello.
Oh, no.
But the first day they take us all out like a mama duck and little ducklings. The first thing, man, it's like we go right from the Hollywood Bowl to the 101 freeway. You have to merge onto an extremely fast moving 6 lanes of traffic where people don't give a flying, I don't cuss, a flying fuck. Honestly, we got so good so fast, and I was always yelling at the producers on the downtime, let us practice. It was really because I wanted to practice. It was so fun. So I did the splits on the bike, and I would lay on the bike, and I would wrap my legs around the bike and sit up halfway on the bike, and I'm getting all excited to ride as soon as now at my age. I became a real biker for quite a while. I would only date bikers, and I smoked cigarettes with bikers. I don't smoke,
Yeah. It goes to your mouth, but you don't inhale, right?
No.
I did at the time, but
No.
I'm always mooching off of boyfriend cigarettes, and they're always get your own pack, and it's like, no, I hate cigarettes. I don't know what you get wrapped up in the drama of it. It's just the whole thing. So I had a car. I had a Volkswagen Cabriolet. So I'd have the roof off, but I would just ride everywhere for years. And I just was very confident, overly confident, by the way, just totally overly confident. And now forget it. It's like, unless all the stars are aligned, unless the weather's perfectly 75 and there's not a lot of wind, and then I'll go. Because I've got more at stake, I suppose, and I feel more mortal.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not as risky.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're young with a motorcycle, I think overconfident really is the only setting.
And I think it saves you, because if you're hesitating and you just hesitating, you're lost. You're gone. You can't hesitate. Which you learn on. I can't believe we're talking about this, but what you learn in motorcycle safety school, and it's really true, is not only do you have like peripheral vision, you practice 360 looking behind you, is you accelerate out of a problem. Where when you're in a car, you might slow down, let somebody merge. When you're riding a motorcycle, you accelerate and get out of a drama, and that's how you survive. So being fearless, I think, is a really important skill if you have any desire to ride a motorcycle. If not, don't even try, and also for anyone out there who cares about this, but I don't know, maybe there are bikers or wannabe bikers, you have to get trained. Don't let your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend train you. No, take a motorcycle safety class, because it teaches you, step 1 to step 10, so that you can pass the test, number 1. And then number 2, you're really confident once you get out there, because, you snooze, you lose. You have to be, and this is the last I'll say on it, because it's a ridiculous conversation. It's more for me than anyone else out there. It's the most meditative and relaxed and highly aware and alert that you ever can be, combined. because your arms and your legs and your head are the roof of your car and your doors, you know. I lived in Laurel County at the time, and I'd modified that Sportster so it looked like a small knucklehead or something. It was sat really low and had
awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I had big handlebars, and I was really into turning, you know, just really as far as I could. It was so fun. And Laurel Canyon is very twisty, so on the way home one day, I'm turning and I'm turning and I'm turning. And I hit a patch, and the bike shoots out from under me, rolls full speed into the hill, and I'm dropped on the ground as if I'm still on the bike, and I just like a cartoon, my butt just my butt all the way up into the side of this hill, had road rash everywhere.
Oh no.
Immediately, my body goes into shock, and I'm like, I kind of, come to, and it's like, I'm really thirsty. I'm really, because you're in shock. And so I go over to a house where there's like a garden hose, and I'm trying to drink some water. It's like, okay, I'll get back on the bike in a minute. I'm just going to take a small nap. And I'm like,
oh no.
Yeah.
That's great advice, though. The next time I feel, that tired or that traumatized, I'll just go drink off of someone's hose in their yard, because that's really good advice for people.
I guess so, but don't lay your head down and rest a minute until because your body's going into shock,
Yeah.
No, no, I'm glad we had this conversation, because again, this idea of being a nerd is just being passionate about something, and clearly biking is something you were very passionate about and still are. And it's I've owned 2 motorcycles. I don't have them anymore, but I've also laid one of them out too, and knew that I was also kind of in that same state where my bike's gone. It's in pieces. Oh, it's kind of in pieces, but I think I can pick it up and lift it up. I've got to get out of the way for traffic. I have to be polite to these Minnesotans trying to drive through at midnight. There's no one on the road, but I can't hold traffic up. I've got to get these people out of it. I've got to get this thing going.
Right.
So completely get it.
Yeah. You're not in your right mind. You're not in your right mind. The other time that was adorable, because you're just overly confident and young. I don't know how. I wasn't that young, to be honest. I was probably in my late 20s already. I was big into wearing cutoff shorts and fishnets. Remember when girls were doing that in cowboy boots? That was my motorcycle uniform. And I'm on Santa Monica Boulevard, white lining it, going through traffic. And I'm chasing a boy on a bike. I'm drafting off of him, really. And I don't know what I was thinking. I had at the time I had crash bars on the sides. And I tried to squeeze through, but the traffic was stopped, and it was too close of a call. And I got caught in between two parked, slowing down cars. I squeezed my legs in, and my pipes at the time were on each side of the bike. I'm fucking wearing fishnets. I got tattoos of fishnets up the sides of my leg. Yeah, up the sides of my calves, where the fishnets just burned right into my. But it was kind of cool. I mean, very nerdy.
I mean,
it's
everyone loves a good scar, right? That's a story.
It's savings. Now you don't have to buy fishnets anymore, because they're already there. They're built in.
Or tattoos, right?
Well,
now,
people pay good money for burned-in tattoos now, so you're ahead of your time.
Branding.
Yeah. Well. Speaking of being fearless, okay. Some of the things that we kind of have read about you, things that I just kind of read about you in the very beginning, was that dancing played a big part of your early career. And what I've always wanted to understand about that is, where did you get your moves? Where did that start? Did you become part of a group, or did you just have the dance burning inside you from the beginning? Where did that begin?
It's burning inside of me. Well, I was a kid growing up in Las Vegas, and on Saturdays it would be Soul Train, and then Dick Clark's show, American
Bandstand.
Yep.
And that's all it took. I would study the moves and dance, full half hour in front of the TV set. And that's all that sparked my interest as a kid. And I loved it. So when I got into high school, I tried to get into the song leading team, because there's a big difference between cheerleaders and song leaders. Song leaders have choreography. So I made alternate song leader, and I was enraged. My ego was like alternate, still part of the team. Nobody knew. And I was like, fuck this. So I was with them maybe for 2 weeks and I quit and just started to, and sought out a dance class, dance studio. And so I was about 15 at the time and started taking dance. And I learned from a dance teacher there. We would go after school. And so it was like me, a little kid named Carlos, and strippers and showgirls warming up for the evening. Those are the people in the dance class, in ballet 101, and in jazz. We're professionals off of the strip. And one of the teachers told us about the New York School of Performing Arts for high school kids. And he would tell us, because he graduated from there, he'd tell us stories about it. It was like, oh my God, that's where we need to go to high school. Oh, what a dream, what a dream. So over the summer of my junior year, was it sophomore year or junior year? It was my junior year. I stayed at my aunt's house in the valley, San Fernando Valley in North Hollywood, and started to study dance up the street on Vineland and Ventura Boulevard. And I had the balls at the end of summer to try to figure out a way to stay in Los Angeles and not go back to school in Las Vegas. And I knew I'd have to come up with a good case. So I thought, well, if I asked the teacher for a full scholarship, maybe my dad would let me stay. And the teacher said, yeah, his name is Jaime Rogers. He's a very famous choreographer. In fact, he was in the original West Side Story, one of Jerome Robbins' boys. And I went back to my dad and he said, yeah. So I went to high school and danced several classes every day after that. And then one day in the dance studio, I realized there were acting classes. And I thought, you know what? You don't speak when you're a dancer. You just don't speak.
Mm-hmm.
You can go days and days and days without talking.
Yep.
And it didn't really bother me until I kind of realized you don't talk. All you do is, watch and repeat. And I decided to try to take an acting class. And I met a girl whose manager wanted to manage me. And the very first audition was for Fame. And Fame took place at the fictional School for the Performing Arts in New York. It was the pilot and then the series for the movie.
Yeah.
As a teen, I saw the movie in Los Angeles a bunch of times, and just dreamt about it. And then, boom! I got a chance to audition. I made the show. I acted in the pilot, and I made part of the dance troupe. And I did that for a couple of years until I realized acting was a lot easier and they pay a lot more. And fuck dancing. So that's how that happened. Yeah.
So really quick, when you talk about school, this was Providence High, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason why I wanted to ask you about Providence High was because there's a couple other alum that people might know about from there. There's Helen Hunt and Mina Savari, I believe,
Right.
also went there. And your mascot is also the same as mine was in high school. We were also the Pioneers. So the Pioneers just have a soft spot in my heart.
Oh, wow.
They always will.
Yeah. Mina was much younger than me, and Helen was much older. I had the choice to go anywhere I wanted, and I decided to go to the private school, literally because going to North Hollywood High, I'd have to spend an extra hour or so a day in school, and Providence let you out early, so I would be able to get all my classes early in and hit a 1 p.m. dance class. So,
Oof.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this is actually a really good transition point because one of the first fan questions we had, Joe's gonna take over for us, and it actually kind of explores, Lycia at this point in time. We really want to know more. So, Joe, feel free to take away.
Yeah. Our fans want to know: did 16-year-old Lycia have a career dream before acting, or was performing/acting kind of the first real big dream job you had?
No, the dream job was dancing. I would see the Carol Burnett show once a week, and the dancers would do maybe 3 to 5 with full costume changes, 3 to 5 dances. And I would just, I love the comedy, but it was like, oh my gosh, they're dressed in colonial times and now they're in go-go clothes. The dream was to be a professional dancer. So I succeeded. I was a teenager and making a living, and everyone I was in dance class with was much better, by the way, at dancing than I was. But for some reason, it's that same like motorcycle chutzpah, I guess. I went pro and I got my SAG card and AFTRA card, and I was got into every union, and I started to make good money and became a professional. But so it was dancing for sure. And then I, really thought about it. Where do you go after you burn out your body? Like choreography, and would I be able to do that? And I dreamt choreography all the time. I go to sleep and dream routines all the time. But because I was also acting on the show, I really liked acting. So that became the new dream. That's how I transitioned into acting for 10 years.
Which, I mean, you had a hell of a transition. I mean, just because of looking at some of the work that you've been involved with. Uh, we've got the Jeffersons General Hospital. I've heard that you got a really bitch and tan for Baywatch. I mean, these are these are some pretty iconic properties to be involved in, and we've talked to other actors on this show who have talked about differences in maybe when they got started. Some have gone door to door, others have networked with other friends who are actors, that kind of thing. But how did you really initially break through to some of these properties? Because
Right.
we'd love to know that.
Well, it was real for me. I would have still been an actor, but it was really tough. At the end of moving into my 9th year of acting, I did a TV movie called The Perfect Date, and I got an Emmy nomination, and I didn't get it. And then a year after that, my agents dropped me, and I went, "What am I going to do? I'm 30. I have no life experience, and now they want me to play college kids, and I don't know what it would be even like to be in college." So I started to go to school, and I ended up segueing out of the business, but the business was very, very rough for me. I had a good agent, a good manager. I did Clan of the Cave Bear, Lethal Weapon, Total Recall. I was in a couple of long-running soaps. I did a lot of guest stars on a lot of 80s shows. But it's hard to believe and wrap your mind around right now, but ethnic was not in. It was all American, and the constant feedback would be, "She's too ethnic. We're going another way. She's too dark. She's too ethnic." I was relegated to playing, it's 100% true, like hookers, runaways, drug addicts, maids, the girlfriend of the white girl. I was never able to go for leads, but I had a good reputation as an actor where they'd give me a chance on the leads. And sometimes I'd make it all the way down to the end, and ultimately they would go with the white person because that was what's in. Now it's it's gone overboard. You got an Asian, you got a black, you got an an East Indian, you got a real Indian, you've got an Italian, a Jew. It's like it's too much. It's unrealistic how diverse it is. But back then, through the 80s and early 90s, it started to change after I got out with In Living Color and Jennifer Lopez and Paula Abdul, and they were the first ones, believe it or not, to kind of allow ethnic to kind of be cool, be hip. It came in with like the hip hop thing, but prior to that, I could be anything but white. Italian, Jewish. I did an episode of Hardcastle and McCormick, which no one will remember, where I played the Sheik's girlfriend. I was a skyjacker's girlfriend a couple of times. They don't even call them skyjackers. That's how old I am. It was, so it's a hijacker of a plane. They call it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my
A
God.
little more sensitive about that now.
Yeah. I was always a mafia girlfriend. I played a dozen hookers, and they was, sometimes it would be guest spots with lots of lines, and sometimes it would be like Lethal Weapon, all dressed up and no one to blow. In the second act, I'm in a body bag. It was kind of one of those things.
And it wasn't even you in the body bag, right? It was somebody else that they put in the body bag.
Not me in the body bag. Not a human body in a body bag. An extra is in the body bag.
You never know if they're gonna like unzip a little bit to like show the face or something,
That would
right?
have been great.
I mean,
no one was IDing me. I was Dixie the hooker. Nobody gave a shit about me.
well, we care.
We
care,
do.
right? We do.
Actually, I do recall you were on the pilot of one of my favorite shows in the 90s, The Flash, where you did play a biker's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And one thing we love to do on the show is actually look at values from once upon a time and compare them to now. So if anyone remembers, your boyfriend wanted you to break away from the main gang and had a wad of cash that said this was going to get us through. Does anyone remember how much money that he said that was going to get you through to the next town?
Oh my God. Can it be multiple choice?
Multiple choice. Go. Okay. It is, we will have $200, $300, $500, or $900.
God.
How much money did you have that was going to get you through to the next town?
Yeah, I gotta just tell you, it was a 2-week shoot, and it was all nights.
Oh my, yeah, because everything was night.
Yeah.
I was, you'd arrive at the set at 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. or when the sun was setting. They put you in makeup and costume, and they call you to the set at 2 a.m.
Oh my
You're
gosh.
sleeping.
Killer.
So I have zero real recollection, but for some reason $200 feels right.
It was $300 was going to get you through, and if you adjust for inflation, that's currently $660.
He was an idiot.
Huge idiot, because immediately you go and tell the boss, like, this guy's stealing from you. You got to get him out of here. Which anyone comes up to you and says, I've got $660. Don't worry, baby. All of our dreams are solved. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
What is he thinking? No wonder you turned him in.
Does that even get you to Victorville today in gas money?
Right. No, it's $7.29 a gallon out here right now.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, to pull back the curtain just a little bit more here, Nate's got our next fan question to ask a little bit more about this behind the scenes process with some of these properties you're involved in.
So, I mean, obviously, like as far as getting older, you having to do with Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie. It's not really I've got the Picard jacket upstairs and all of that. I don't wear it out in public, for my wife's sake. I try to. I gotta be kind of covered on that, but I remember this scene, like, kind of go for go, but like it took 2 takes, you said, to get the hot chocolate scene down. I got a couple of questions to follow up even on that, but like, kind of like, what was your? I mean, I don't know. If it only took 2 takes, it kind of means you did it pretty well the first time. But like when I watched it again, I'm like, and I see this in the movie Old School, where when someone spills something on somebody else, kind of like the acting thing is to sit there and like spread the liquid all over them, and you kind of do the same thing. Were you told to do that, or was that like instinctual? Like, okay.
No. All right. So I was an ensign in engineering, and I'm so nervous in front of Captain Picard that I spill my hot chocolate all over his uniform, his chest area. And the only reason, by the way, we did it in 2 takes, or that they ever do those kinds of things in 2 takes. Like I was in Hunter, where I have to, in the pilot called the Snow Queen, I have to jump in a pool, or I'm shot or something. I forget. I fall in a pool. And it all has to do with wardrobe. They only have a couple changes of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so they really want to get you on the first take. And they had 2 Picard outfits, because I didn't need to change. He did. And, he's fucking him. He's having to do it over and over and over again. So there was a lot of pressure on me to nail it. I didn't nail it the first time, so they did it a second time just for safety.
Okay.
So that's why there was 2 takes. I think it was just improvisation. We didn't really even rehearse it, except for blocking. So I think I might have rehearsed it with an empty cup. How it's going to be. I'm trying to clean him. So that was just it was just an improv that they kept.
Hot chocolate real hot chocolate, or was it just some like?
I'm sure it wasn't hot. It looked like milk. Yeah, it was chocolate milk. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, good on both of you that Patrick Stewart wasn't like, oh, this is actually hot, and you're actually touching with your hands. Like, this is fine. This is all fine. This isn't boiling or anything. It's okay.
I'm trying to clean him. I think it's like I'm trying to make it right. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Did you like talk much to Patrick Stewart? Was he like he seemed like on TV like a pretty cool guy, but like I mean,
Well, this was the second season.
right.
And he was still, very strong with that Shakespearean professionalism. He only showed up on the set. You don't hang out. He's got a trailer that's, the size of my house. So he only showed up for blocking, lighting blocking, and then rehearsal and shooting. So not really, but he was very kind, when we were getting lit, when we had to kind of stand there and get blocked and stuff. He was friendly. He didn't have any kind of superiority or, a trip like you hear some actors where you're not allowed to look in their eye. You have to keep your head down, I mean, there are people like that.
It's like working with a gorilla, right? Like, don't look into its eyes.
Right.
Bow,
Yeah, you have to be subservient. Yeah. No, so no, there was not a lot of chatting. However, the minute I arrived on the set, I was introduced to Jordy because most of my scenes were going to be with Jordy, and he took me to his trailer, and that was fabulous. It was like a fucking yoga studio. No kidding. I am not, or an ashram would be better. Incense is burning, and he's got these beautiful like scarves on all the windows so that the natural sunlight comes through, and it's pink and orange, and we're sitting on like pillows, and I mean, it was magical. I wouldn't be surprised if he had like some, gong,
like you walk in and doves just kind of fly out the front door,
Right,
kind of thing, right?
And
Well, he's really spiritual, LeVar Burton is.
that
Isn't he?
makes sense because it was a very and he really wanted me to connect with him, and he was so kind. I mean, I was nobody, and there wasn't even the thought that I was going to become a regular at that moment in time or anything like that. And we didn't rehearse with his glasses on. We would just connect. He was so easy to connect to. It was just vibed immediately because he's so available. He's like, he's not full of his own performance, which, trust me, most actors are. It's kind of, it makes me feel like they're not real professionals. They can't really connect like one-on-one and be in the moment and all that kind of stuff. But not him. He really connected.
As far as like building his reputation up, I got to know this too. Were there any books in his trailer?
Yeah, tons of books.
Okay, I was about to say because he only encouraged everyone else to read books growing up, so I got to know like.
Yeah, he was doing Reading Rainbow already at that point, I think. Yeah, no, he had tons of books, and they were all a little bit more spiritually based. He didn't have kids' books or anything.
I was gonna say
He
he doesn't have the Berenstain Bears, on his bookshelf thing.
An anecdote I've never told because I've never really thought about it is we rehearsed. We had all our lines down for all of our scenes for each week, but we rehearsed. Actually, we shot both episodes in the same week, I think, if I recall. I don't remember.
Samaritan Snare, yeah.
Q-Who and Samaritan Snare. By the way, they were the highest rated of the entire 5-year run. Those two.
It's a credit to you. Yeah, it's a credit to you.
I would hope so. No, not really. I'm kidding. But we get to the set, and there's not a lot of time. It's TV, so it's one rehearsal just to walk down a hallway, or one rehearsal just to get things lit up and do it correctly. And you go right into basically shooting the rehearsal and then shooting, 5 takes, and that's it. And then they move on. And here's what I'm getting to. I had all of this connection and all of this good chemistry with him, and then he put the glasses on, and I went, it was gone.
No.
I wasn't connecting with his eyes. His eyes were gone. So that's why I think he rehearses so hard with other actors, because he knows now our performance might suffer a little bit because we're not seeing his eyes. I'm having to remember how loving he was looking at me and how his eyes would water kind of to take care of me, and counsel me and all this stuff. So it was weird. I almost choked. I kind of didn't know how to handle it at first because I was so thrown by acting with this thing. And of course, the story. It was the last 2 episodes of that season, and there was talk that maybe they would write me in as a regular for the next season. because the way the canon is, the big thick book, Ensign Sonia Gomez, Geordie falls so much in love with her that he's willing to take this life-threatening surgery to his eyes in order to see her. He wouldn't do it for himself. He would only do it for true love, and that would remove the visor and give him a chance to not wear the visor also for the rest of the.
Instead, he turns it down. He turns down the surgery.
Turns down the surgery.
Yeah.
Right. But a big part of it was they'd written my character, and I guess the way I was directed and the way I played it was comic relief to a mentor student. And I was kind of a comic relief, a wide-eyed, and they couldn't logically, he would never really fall in love with somebody like me. It came off as an age gap, and I was too dorky, nerdy. I'm part of your club. So
Yeah.
To be fair, though, he never falls in love with anybody really on that show, other than a hologram on the holodeck and a couple other misfires.
But he's kind of gets a data bromance, and that's kind of about the most he gets.
If I would have known, maybe I would have. I don't know. I could have maybe added that note into the performance in some way. Have some chemistry, some sexual chemistry.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue. I was told at the end of the shoot, there's a chance. Then they edited it together, and they called me back 2 weeks later. I don't know if I've ever told this anecdote. This is pretty painful. So I wanted to get my hair cut, and I didn't know if they were going to want me back because they had floated that balloon that I could be called back, and I also didn't know if it was. I didn't really understand that it was the end of the shooting season for hiatus. I should have known because I know how Hollywood schedules are. It was going to become the summer. So I thought I probably should get permission to cut my hair, and also it would give me a chance to find out if they needed me again, right?
Oh yeah, nice.
So for some reason, my agents wouldn't call, or I don't know what it was. I found the fucking number. Maybe I found it through the casting director of the writer's room. The writers were all producers. They were producer writers. And I called the writer's room and talked to the producer, one of the producers, and said, hey, I don't know if you're going to, need to use me again, if you want me back for any pickup shots or whatever, but I'm planning to cut my hair short. Is that okay? And then they called me back. At that time, I was like,
Yeah.
They finally called me back like 2 days later, and they released me. They go, no, yeah, go ahead and cut your hair. So I did. I cut my hair. Motherfuckers. 2 weeks later, they did pickup shots in the hallway where Jordy and I are having that heart-to-heart talk where, I want to see the stars. I want to be out there with you. I wanted to be the best ensign I can be. One of those high in the sky, dreamy sequences so they reshot it. But I get to the set, and all frigging hell breaks loose, and I'm mortified. I'm mortified. Oh wait. Before that, I'm mortified because while I'm doing the principal photography, at some point they watched the dailies, and there was a knock on my trailer door, and it was a golf court, and there was a second AD, and he said, "Get in the cart. The producers want to have a meeting with you." And I'm like,
"Oh no. Oh."
I'm like sick. I'm sick. I mean, sick to my stomach. I mean, I'm feeling it right now. And that long golf cart ride to this big, ugly conference room. And I'm sitting in with the producers, and they have on a big screen, they get to a scene, and I don't remember which scene it was. Oh, I think it's in engineering, maybe, where I'm pressing fake buttons on a wall, and they freeze frame it, and they go, "You see that? You see that? You see that?" They're talking to me, the actor. They go, "Those are flyaways," because I had a shag exactly like this still. And they were like, "Look at those flyaways. These flyaways, we don't like that." Star Trek has helmet hair. Everyone has really, and every person on the set has a costume handler where they're keeping all the wrinkles. The leggings have stirrups so that the legs are straight down underneath the shoes. And all the men wear shoulder pads and chest plates. So it looks like they're buff and they're not.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Oh,
I knew it.
The future's a lie.
they're girdled in and they have, I'm not joking. They're girdled in
God.
and they have these chest plates and shoulder pads that look like muscles. And I was an A cup at the time. They kept expanding my boobs to show it through the outfit. Anyway, I had a D cup that was like this in real life, which still only looks kind of like, it only reads like a B or a C on film. Anyway, they were yelling at me for my flyaways. This is during principal photography. And I was like, oh, so they call in the hairdresser and then they show her because why are they talking to me? I don't do my hair. They did my hair. I mean, I was so mortified. I was so young and I was just, anyway, crisis averted. They helmet haired my hair down and they kind of hairsprayed it so it wouldn't fly away. So cut to, they released me. I cut a couple inches off my hair. They changed their mind to do pickup shots. I come back. My hair is a couple inches shorter. Fucking complete meltdown on the set. It's as if, I don't know. I mean, I can't understand, why things become such a big deal other than it's very expensive and every minute you lose.
Sure.
It's like production is like a slow moving dinosaur. Once it starts to get moving, you don't want that dinosaur to have to stop because that's millions of dollars every time, $30,000 a minute or something. So everything came to a stop while there's conferences about what to do about my hair. And I was blamed and I was yelled at, but I covered my bases. I actually asked for sneaky reasons, really, to see if I was going to become a regular and I could relax for the entire summer, knowing I was going to either be, rich and famous or it was just going to go back to being a day player. And then, it all came down on me. It was really, really terrifying. So they put hair extensions in. A very famous makeup and hairstylist, Michael Westmore, the Westmore family, who did all the old movies, Planet of the Cave Bear. They actually did Total Recall, and I did Total Recall. They, Westmore's. They've done everything. Mike Westmore knew me from Planet of the Cave Bear, and he was really nice to me. So he immediately found a matching color and they put hair extensions in and they tried to match it up and all that kind of stuff. And they're waiting and ticking and, I nailed the scenes the way they wanted them, or the way I was directed. And I was just petrified. And I thought that's why they didn't ask me back, because I cut my hair and they were all yelling at me and I have flyaway hair and, I don't know.
Ooh.
I doubt they were ever that much pressure on Patrick Stewart. They probably never got about him about his hair.
Actually, I think they did.
They did?
Initially, like they didn't like the idea of a bald captain. So like they had him like read with a toupee and he was not comfortable.
It's true. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
He said the toupee was so ridiculous that he refused to do it.
Yep.
So,
well, you heard now that they tried to get him back on TV for a couple decades, and they were throwing projects at him and scripts, and none of them. They were all like revisits of what's already done. There was no new information. There was no progression, and the only reason he liked Picard is because that it was innovative and there was somewhere to go. There was territory that he hadn't explored as an actor. So you knew that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And revisiting your character, I just get hearing about like they thought you played it as a comic relief and that there's no way they could see you and Jordy being together. I just think is ridiculous. Other than your initial like moment where of course like you're super nervous because like you've made it to the Enterprise, this is the big show, and there's some panic. The rest of the episode, like you're optimistic. In the next episode, you give Wesley great advice for when he's nervous about interacting with Picard, and then you are nothing but confidence the entire time Jordy's been taken. So I think you played that fantastically.
All right. So when I started to do the Creation Las Vegas stuff, right? I ended up getting I think they're called a signing man. It's a different kind of agent or manager. I'd already been out of business forever. It's somebody who gets you into Monster Palooza and autograph shows.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he heard through the grapevine that actually the reason why I didn't get picked up as a regular was my agents, that a deal came their way and they fucked up the deal. I have a really hard time believing that, but because I know that, you know, they come to me and go, hey, do you want to do this 2-week TV movie in Roanoke, Virginia? It's only minimum wage, you know, and I'd say, yeah, you know, so they come to me with lowball, you know, B movie salaries, or, you know, in the lower SAG, and I would do anything. I don't care. I just wanted to act. So I find that hard to believe. They're not in business anymore, but I would love to find out if that was the truth. That would be fucking heartbreaking, right? If I didn't even have an option to turn it down, they turned it down for me because it wasn't enough money.
But they did bring you back recently. I mean,
yes. Yeah. I mean,
there's a little bit of redemption there.
30 years later.
30 years.
30 years later, on Lower Deck.
And it's actually a funny transition, because this is our next fan question that Joe will take us away on here. So, Joe, when you're ready.
Okay, so you did have mentioned before that money was humorously being a factor in returning to Star Trek. Were there any other influences that made you want to come back?
They asked. 2 words. They asked. Are you kidding me? I'd been out of the business for quite a while. My acting career only lasted 10 years. Then I went into going to college for the first time when I was 30. Then segueing into journalism. And I became an undercover investigative reporter for most of that, which means I didn't take a byline. Nobody knew what I was doing. I was a celebrity journalist following A-listers all over the world. So that's how I was able to retire after a very short time. Good money. But you know, I didn't even know Lower Decks existed, to be quite frank. When I got a call through that signing agent that said, do you want to do this? It's only $5,000. I went, $5,000 to voice over for an hour, and I'm a captain, and I have my own ship.
Yes.
It was the middle of the pandemic, and it was actually the beginning. No, it was about maybe 6-8 months into the pandemic when everybody was freaked out. So I go to an ADR studio in the Valley, and you know, they take my temperature everywhere, under my armpits, in my mouth, and in my butt, and then you know, I'm masked, I'm gloved, and the person coming to the doors in a hazmat suit. The only person in there is the sound engineer, and I get in there, and there's 5 big TV screens. And they're all the producers, all the major producers and writers, you know, looking at me on Zoom. And it was kind of funny. It felt very holographic, very, very Star Trek-y. To have just all these talking heads. We weren't used to Zoom yet, really.
Yeah.
So it was great. I worked for an hour and a half. Then they designed and created the characters' animation from the voiceover. So I did all of the lines first. And then they said, okay, we'll see you in a year for pickups. So they said, that's how long it takes. It takes a year to animate a 21-minute episode. And I was like, oh yeah, pickups, because that's another $5,000. I was like, but I was so good, I guess they never called me back to do any.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What you're telling us is you need to screw up a little bit.
I know.
Just a little bit. You're too good at
Once again, I was trying to see if they'd write me back in. But the problem when I read the script, though, I knew I was just a pawn to further a storyline. I didn't, I had my own ship, but I was really, secondary to the main plot. So I knew they'd call me back as a.
They're bringing LeVar Burton and Picard next season,
All
so
of
maybe
them.
they'll maybe they'll drop a line or something. Maybe you guys had a connection or something, and he mentioned you. You know.
How I've been thinking about this. If I buy IMDb Pro, you can get the manager, the business manager, the agent, the lawyer, all of the information of an actor.
Mhm.
You're not going to get their home address or anything. But if I could possibly get their PR, like get Jordy's PR person, make a call, see if there was any way a note could get to LeVar. Usually, good PR people, it's not going to happen.
Mhm.
But I don't know. That if they're a Star Trek fan, and then put a bird in LeVar's ear. Oh my
Mhm.
God.
Oh.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, hey, maybe we can go on Twitter because we have a Twitter page, and maybe we can ask on
Mhm.
your behalf to LeVar and just tag and see what he says. We'll
That
see
would
what we get back.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or maybe we could try our shot at some investigative journalism, find out where he is, hang out outside and just see if we can get some info, because honestly, that's
Mhm.
one thing that I really when we first connected with you, I knew about your involvement in the Cosby, on basically breaking that
Mhm.
case wide open.
Yeah.
And you can't tell, but Joe and I were both journalism students in college. That's the school that we both attended, and that's where I got my degree out of was
Which
the
one?
communications. It was in the Wisconsin college system here,
Mhm.
Cool.
and so one of the things that I really admired about just your journey in journalism is the fact that you know, I just admired how tenacious you are. I mean, you did a lot of investigative work that, frankly, yeah, I know you can't give away like all of your secrets for what you did.
I'm tired. Ask me.
Oh well, that's what I was gonna get into was
Mhm.
trying to understand like how did you build that tool set out? Did you have people that you admired that you modeled it after? Did you
No,
you
no.
know?
Again. It was just like dancing. That was interesting. We started back at the beginning at the origin story. It's like somebody who's a comic. It's a natural skill set. Uh, I was always a good writer. I liked journalism. I liked, essay writing. I was just, getting my first year of college out of the way. And what interested me most were term papers and writing. Um, so that natural skill combined with, if I can put a good sentence together, it doesn't matter what I look like. If I'm too ethnic, if I have a big nose, if I'm short, if I'm fat, if I'm not sexy enough, you either put a good sentence together or you don't. So I had that going for me. Plus, I had, I guess, chutzpah is the word that's coming to my brain. I have a lot of balls. I'm scared of very, very, very few things. I mean, I grew up on the streets of Las Vegas. Very little scare me. The only thing that really scares me are police because if you get into the system, you don't know how it's going to turn out.
Sure.
Logic and law on your side all goes out the window. So I've read. Um,
Sure.
but other than that, I had those two things going for me. So I took my name off of most of my career so that I could actually sneak around like a mouse chasing its cat or a cat chasing its mouse. I can
Mhm.
sit at a table right next to a Brad Pitt or a Jennifer Aniston or an Angelina Jolie or especially at that time a Britney Spears or something, and they'd never know. And I could show up over and over and over again, and they'd never know, because my name isn't appearing on the hotel bill or they can't connect my name with my byline in the news. So I was pretty good at being able to sneak around.
Yeah. Yeah, because you actually had a lot to do with, covering Britney Spears, when she had
Yeah,
initially kinda shot to stardom. I mean, you even had the scoop on, Kanye West and Kim K's, baby names before anybody knew about 'em,
I didn't
from
know.
yeah, yeah, this is actually an interview I think I read about where you apparently broke the Easton name.
Me?
Yeah.
I wasn't in.
See, I only read about the fight you got into with Denise Richards. So
Yeah, that's weird because I was not in the business by the time she got with Kanye.
Oh, okay. People are
Oh,
telling that story with your name on it, so
well.
Yeah,
Cool.
people are working for you behind the scenes.
Did more than you knew.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, this was easily like the area of like your background that I got like the most into because I just have a lot of respect for your ability to get that information.
Mhm.
I imagine it's got to be kind of fun being like almost a detective in a way.
You are a detective. You're a private eye.
Yeah,
But you also have a lot of data banks at your disposal.
yeah,
Um, so you can find out addresses, phone numbers. Um, we used to be able to track their flights from the tail number on FlightAware. You get really good at using public data banks that are available to anybody, and LexisNexis that the corporations pay for. Yeah. So Denise Richards, you want to talk about that?
No, 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 no. I mean, no,
Come
I
on,
mean,
Nate. Come on, you've
no.
got the opportunity. You might as well.
All I read about was that she come in and called you the C word there.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, there were different takes on who was at fault there, but it seemed like she came in to kind of challenge a little bit about what, or at least get an interview based on her. But if you want to tell a little bit more about it.
So she was really mad for real. I didn't realize the setup. E brought me in after they shot, and they wouldn't show me the edited together version. What they wanted me to do, sitting down with a lawyer and with the promise of 500 extra bucks. And I'm like, well, will you bring me back for more stuff? I'd love to be an anchor on E News. So I was playing nice. I was allowed to read the transcript of how they cut it together, and they cut it like 100% out of sequence to make it look the way it looked. But she was legit mad. It was a fake office in like Northridge somewhere. I brought my computer, I brought my dog, I brought my own, props and stuff. Where she comes in and wants a story written that's positive, I guess. But almost immediately, first of all, she's fucking nuts. And I didn't know this at the time.
I believe you.
She's done this constantly on the Housewives shows. This is her modus operandi. But I didn't know that at the time, and I don't even think E knew that at the time. That she's the meltdown queen. She's a little bit unstable and unbalanced. And I would love for her to give me a call and get mad at me about that, because she was living hell to work with, absolutely living hell to work with. She comes in, they shoot live, both sides of you. There's a camera on me, a camera on you, so it's all synced up. They don't do, in reality TV, there's cameras everywhere. They shoot all at the same time. Almost instantly, she is seeing me as the paparazzi, seeing me as every tabloid that she hates. I've never written about her. No one, all of the magazines I've ever worked for don't give a flying fuck about her. They didn't care at all about her. She was C-list. So I was never called upon to interview her, to follow her, nothing. I mean, I do know that she would call paparazzi for setup pictures in the park with her kids, looking beautiful with a full face of makeup, fake eyelashes, and there'd be paparazzi across the street shooting her. She'd make those calls. She wanted to get more famous, so she would instigate being followed. There's no doubt about that. I don't think, I don't know if she still does that, but back in the day, she certainly did. But I became the scapegoat for every tabloid report or story that had ever been written about her. I did a lot of research about her divorce filing. And I think she was really pissed about how educated I was on what is completely public record.
Absolutely.
That had also already been written about. I just wanted to be educated when she came in. And it didn't take more than, honestly, 3 minutes. And boom, it started. So we shot a very little bit about it. They kind of give you a rough outline of where the plot points where they want you to go. By the way, reality TV is not reality whatsoever. I'm sure you know that.
I've been on reality TV, so
Yeah,
It's
Nate,
sorted out.
he was
It's
on House Hunters. Nate was.
oh, cool.
If you didn't know that.
Is it scripted? Is it? It doesn't have an outline, a script.
I
too?
can't say anything about it. I'm under NDA.
Oh,
You want to ask me some other time, maybe? No, I
I'm
can't. I can't do it.
I'm not. I'll tell you everything.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
we're basically 3 minutes into shooting when she calls me a fucking cunt in front of my dog. And my dog is still in therapy. It's like, what the fuck? And she leaves. And it's really hot in that room. I'm dripping sweat because all the lights. Finally, they turn the lights out because she won't come back. Now she's in her car in the valet parking downstairs, and she wants to leave. And it's a half an hour, and I'm like, again, I'm petrified as if it's my fault. I was like, tell me what to do. I mean, I'll play nice. I don't care. You guys are the ones who told me to bring this stuff up, to confront her, to bring some drama to the game. I was just doing, again, exactly what they asked me to do, but I guess a little bit too good. And she lost it. So after about 45 minutes, they talk her into coming back. And only if I, tone it completely down. And I forget how it ended up, but I just kissed her ass, and that was really nice. And I think they just couldn't resist, and they kept some drama in the shoot, in the final edited version. What I read was super out of context. They gave me the $500, and that was the end of that. But it was very disappointing to see how serious she takes herself and her image. That's probably why she really didn't become a dramatic or comedic actress. She just can play herself on TV.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, kind of staying on the topic of journalism here. Joe actually has a question for you, kind of going back to the Cosby case and expanding a little bit there.
Yeah. So what our fans would like to know, should your covering of the Cosby case be adapted into a book or a film, or do you think there's more of that story to be told?
At this point, it has been exhausted. Netflix came out with a series. Let's talk about Cosby or something.
Hmm.
I think that has been wrung dry. I mean, the fact that he got out on a technicality after 3 years, and the fact that he could have gotten his sentence reduced prior to that while he was in prison if he would have taken domestic violence classes or victim awareness, would give you points on parole, early release, and he refused. To this moment, he still denies that any of that occurred. Is very psychopathic.
Mm-hmm.
But I was on Dr. Phil really early on. I got my own little segment with him talking about this, and one of the things that came to my mind as I pitched what I would say is, I had an African American massage therapist, and who didn't know that I was a journalist and didn't know I broke the scandal. And I said, "What do you think about Bill Cosby?" He goes, "Oh, fucking gold diggers." And I said, "All of them?"
Oh.
And he goes, "Yeah, they're all out for the take. All of them are for money. I don't believe a word." And that was primarily the African American viewpoint on it, was that all of these women were on the take, that they're framing him. And so what I said on Dr. Phil was like, this really cannot be a conspiracy, because I'm interviewing people from 1967. She was a Playboy bunny at the Playboy club here, all the way to people in the 90s and in the 2000s. They're all different ages, races. You've got grandmothers, you've got people in their 20s and everything in between, from all over the country, who don't know each other, with the exact same story. They wake up and they smell cigar and his cologne on them, and they're naked, all of them. And this is a terrible story to have to tell, especially on the record. Nobody wants to tell this story on the record. They're not getting, they didn't all like meet at, you know, in the middle of the country in Dallas in a hotel room and go, how are we going to get Bill Cosby now
Yeah.
that he's nobody? Now that he's like literally
Yeah.
nobody, you know, decades after, you know, the Cosby Show in the 90s. So it was really weird that there was so much denial. At this point, everything has been talked about. It was very rough for me. I got the first handful of interviews, but my boss at the time had a reporter who was there who had seniority over me, a male reporter, who all of the leads that like poured in after that, because once a few people talk about it, more and more women feel comfortable to talk about it, that there weren't repercussions, they weren't sued, they're
Mhm.
on the record, you can't touch them. You know, you're on the record. So people were coming out of the woodwork, over 50, over 70 actually in the end. But a lot of the leads that were started to pour in after I did the original 5 went to this other reporter. And I was like, it really was rough on me. It was really rough on me. I mean, I did a lot of other, you know, celebrity journalism for that outlet. But after a while, all the good stories were still going to this one guy. We were the only 2 in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles office. That I thought was late 2015. I have enough money to pay off my house. I think I'm done. I think I'm done with journalism. And I quit. I called up my boss. I told her everything that hurt my feelings through the years, that disappointed me in her. How I felt she betrayed my my progression up the ladder, which she did. And I ended that conversation with, well, I call and I say, we need to talk. And she goes, okay, I think I'll try to be civil. And I went, she knows. So I just laid out all of the problems that I had with her. You did, and it's not very healthy of me, by the way. This is not the way you know, you don't want to burn a bridge this badly, but I never wanted to work as a journalist again. I was done.
Yeah.
So I decided to get it off my chest. I'm driving in the car on speaker, and I go, you know, you did this, you did this, you did this. Dr. Phil wanted me to come in as a producer, and you spoke badly about me, even though all I've done is given you exclusive stories. You know, I found all this out. You didn't even, you know, this, and this. And then I said, and by the way, go fuck yourself. I mean, you never, ever say that. But I was so mad at the sabotage.
Yeah.
And so, you know, what her response was, click. All right. Now, a couple years later, I go, I got to apologize. I can't, you know, that was out of hand. Yes, she was, well, in Denise Richards' words, you know, she was a fucking
Yeah.
really, yeah. So I wrote a really clear email apologizing and saying, look, you know, my apologies are backed up by a change of behavior, or else it's not really a good apology. So I'll never do that, not only to you, but to anyone else again. And by the way, you're not obligated to respond, and I don't have zero ulterior motives. I'm not sending you this note so that you'll work for me again or that I can come back. I have no grand schemes of anything coming out of this other than just to say I'm sorry. And I sent that, and I felt, you know, somewhat relieved. Never heard from her, but
Yeah.
Well, speaking of you know, kind of, well, how about we do this? Because we love our transitions here on the show. We'll go
Okay.
back to the beginning and we'll talk about shifting gears. What we'd like to do is talk about Drive-By Do-Gooders, your nonprofit organization that Nate and I kind of got to know you through in the beginning here. And if you could just give us a little bit of a background on the organization and how you came up with the idea.
Okay, well, let me elevator pitch it if I can. So, you know, growing up in Los Angeles, there are homeless people on every corner, and they all look like they could be my brother or family member. In fact, my brother was homeless for many, many years due to an addiction. And at some point, it made the commute just so disheartening. It's like, who to help, who not to help? What do I do? Do I just ignore them? And every person you ignore, especially if the mother has dragged out their kids and they're holding signs. It's just heartbreaking. It really is, for any kind of empathetic or compassionate person. So I decided, you know what? If I've got it, I'll give it. If I don't, I won't. In other words, if I had an extra protein bar, or if I had a sweater, and I noticed I started to put more and more stuff in my passenger seat during my commutes or just driving around town, so that it almost became a little endorphin rush. Oh, there's a homeless person. I'd be able to give something right out of my car window. So I started to get more involved officially, like doing some buffet lines down in Skid Row. And I was like, oh, man, this is the place. There's 12,000 people in about 30, 40 square blocks. And they're not going anywhere. These are permanent. A lot of them are elderly, disabled, maybe 80 to 90% African-American, 10% Hispanic. You've got a small amount of, white drug addicts, but they all live at the beach. It was really, really pitiful. And so I started to kind of befriend some people on this one block, and then I'd come once a week, then 3 times a week, just giving basics, because I already knew I can't solve the homeless problem. I mean, all the mayor's race, we're having a mayor's race right now. The 5 people wanting to become mayor, the only topic anyone is talking about is solving the homeless problem, because it's gotten out of hand. There's 60,000 homeless adults wandering around LA County without a roof over their heads. Yes, addiction. Yes, mental illness. But you try camping on a sidewalk and see if you don't start, create an addiction or a mental illness if you don't have one already. So it is endemic poverty, but I can't solve any of that. What I can do is give out triage, and that's what drive-by, instead of drive-by shooting, right? And I'm a goody two-shoes. I'm really like a do-gooder in the kitchen, cleaning up after a party and all that. So I drive by and I do good. I decided to become an official 501c3 in 2015. So I take out volunteers, mainly teenagers, on the weekends, and we go to the outskirts of Skid Row, where, again, the elderly and disabled have a harder time reaching some of the services, and just give out basic human essentials, basic triage: water, wipes, socks, cold stream cheese for protein, tangerines, tarps, sweaters, blankets, tents. So, hey, you guys donated a tent. I have it on Facebook right now. It's a beautiful 6-person tent. It's going to be cool. I'll send a picture to you when I find an applicable recipient. One of the problems with giving out tents is that unless I've learned to set it up with them there, because handing them, an $80 tent, guess what it turns into? $5 of meth is what it is.
Oh, yeah.
I'd come back the following day to follow up, and it was like, oh, somebody stole it, or or they just disappeared because they know me. I've been out on the same route, like, post office route, since 2013, every single weekend. So they know me. And so, they were kind of hiding from me, because a few of my real regulars I trusted immediately turned around and sold them. So 4 out of the 5 tents I've given away are gone.
Wow.
I'm sitting on yours, boys, until yeah. Drive-by do-gooders. I collect money, like $5 a person. You can go to my Instagram at drive-by do-gooders, or my personal Facebook page at Lycia Naff, or the website drivebydogooders.org. That's drivebydogooders.org, and click on the donate button. It's really easy. You'll see a lot of videos there. We have no overhead. So a lot of the videos I post every week are really just trying to show evidence that we're using your money immediately. Obviously, I'm not using it to get my hair dyed or my nails done. Yeah, every penny goes directly, to those who need it the most. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a no-brainer for our show, was to support you, because we were looking at videos of how you've supported the community, and I mean, it's heartbreaking to see folks experience a third world country environment in this nation.
7 miles away from the beach houses, the $3 million beach houses. Also, it's the art district, where if you're going to get a loft, That's going to put you back 1.5 million. There's all these 5-star restaurants literally within walking distance of complete third world slums. There's no bathrooms out there. That's not a single water fountain. They crack open fire hydrants and fill up buckets and stuff and wash their clothes, wash their bodies, for water. I mean, when it's 90 degrees in LA, where I live, it's 10 degrees hotter there. There's no hygiene. So one of our catchphrases is hydration and hygiene to the heart of the homeless. Just basic human needs. Everybody deserves to have some sanitation and some drinking water, until everything else gets worked out,
Sure. And actually, we did have a fan question come up about drive-by do-gooders that Nate's going to take care of for us here to kind of round us out.
Do you work with any other cities, or like you're like a network of help? Because like, in Austin even, we've got, a pretty, big homeless problem here, like in the areas and stuff. And they've, recent ordinances have been sort of rolled back, and we don't really even know where the city, what the city is doing about it, or what we just know in some areas where they're no longer there. So I can't assume that they're.
Yeah. What happens is you roll down a street thinking maybe I'll just drop off a case of water, and then all of them are gone. That happens here all the time. I mean, right now, especially because there's a mayor's election coming up in a couple of months, an entire block that was there 1 week is completely gone. And it's like, hold on a minute. All of their numbers didn't come up to get housing all at the same time in that day. Around the corner, and none of them have been displaced. Where did they go? So it's very disconcerting to we drive-by do-gooders tries to stay out of the politics. So we are just no agenda, just pure giving is another one of our catchphrases. But as far as expanding, we would love to. That means more revenue. It's kind of hard to get grants, corporate sponsors. If we were saving starving kittens in Skid Row, we'd be rich. Or an inner city soccer team. But these are homeless adults that nobody cares about overall. They want to, get rid of them in all the cities because they're an eyesore, and it makes you feel your own reality, somewhere in there. And that's why it's like you don't want to look at it. Not in they call them NIMBYs, right? Not in my backyard. It's just it can be under a bridge, but just another bridge, not the one me and my children, commute on. Get rid of them. It's like, where are they going to go? These are people. There's somebody's son, somebody's mother, somebody's grandmother. So we'd love to expand. At the moment, we have kind of just enough money to support our weekly drive-bys, but I did put together a Google Doc with a budget that would include, a warehouse where we can house our stuff, and how we'd expand into the South Bay and some other areas in Southern California. And it would be great to turn this into a franchise. So, well, first get me on Picard. Okay.
Yes. Goal 1.
I think they just finished filming season 3, so it may have to be something they put like in post or something. So
we'll do our we'll do our part.
They just announced bringing back the entire original cast, so that there could be some recurring roles coming in. Yeah.
Well, hey, fingers crossed. And at the end of it here, Lycia, you've survived a digital dissection, so we appreciate you joining us, and we appreciate answering our fan questions as well. It's been an absolute amazing time getting to talk with you. And at the end of these conversations, we always like to offer up the floor to our guests at the end. If there's anything that you'd like to tell either the dissection crew or maybe maybe Denise Richards, you have the floor.
Yes, you have to grow up. The nightmare that you continue to propagate by your own hand on camera, looking at the camera. Okay. But really, Nate, what I'd probably say, anybody who's tuning in from Austin or any city, you can be a drive-by do-gooder immediately. Just put a few extra little things that you normally would pick up at the grocery store. And if you see a homeless person, even if they're acting nuts, roll down the window and go, hey, would you like a bottle of water? You'll be so surprised. They snap out of it and immediately take it and say, thank you. God bless you. 10 out of 10 times, people who are homeless will accept it and feel so grateful. And it makes you feel good. It makes them feel good. You get what's called a helper's high, which is a real thing. It's a little dopamine hit. When you help somebody, you get a little dopamine hit. You know, it's a real thing. So you can be a drive-by do-gooder immediately. Just put some stuff, water, a protein bar, a banana, and even your old socks, as long as they're clean, balled up. Are you kidding? Socks are in such high demand. Or your old tennis shoes,
I
belts.
thought of that.
Totally. Well, you know, hey, buddy, do you need a sweatshirt? They'll take it. You know, it makes them feel good. It makes you feel good. It's like paying taxes. You know, it's like recycling. We're such consumers, and we're digital consumers now, you know, that we have to give back in some way. And this is the easiest way in the universe to give back. You don't even have to give money, even though I'd love your money. $5 to buy me about 40 bottles of water, but you can, you know, immediately start giving with product right in your own house. You know, that's what I have to say.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Alicia, once again, thank you so much for your time. We can't thank you enough. It's been amazing getting to hear some of these stories that frankly don't get told all the time. You know, we absolutely love it. And to the folks that are listening, we absolutely encourage you to please check out drivebydogooders.org. And if you can't donate, share the cause. Please just spread the word, tell folks about it, and we'd really appreciate it from us here at the show. But yes, Lycia, thank you so much. Loved having you.
All right. If you ever come up with more questions, give me a holler. I'm cheap that way. So,
but we'll be happy to get you another tent or some water, as long as you ride safe out there on two wheels.
I know, right? The sunny side up, the shiny side up. That's what they say, right?
Yes, shiny side up.
All right, boys. This was so fun. Thanks a lot.